Hey, hey, who goes there? You're gonna love this vlog. Hey, Roxanne, what's up? And this one's for you. Uh, yeah, and it's number 512 of only 512 that have been made. It's a piece of pottery. That's $4,000. I got that in a storage auction a while back. I was gonna keep it till it turned into $4,000. So I'll have to list it. But anyway, uh if you have any of these things around your house, or you know anybody who's got some and you can catch a deal on it, uh and you can research this stuff on the internet, like on eBay and Amazon, um you will never believe. And if you can take it to auction, you'll do even better at an auction house. But they're still going to take a cut. But if you want, quick money and not as much, you know, 1960s toys. Yes, 1960 toys. And I have some, actually. I used to have a bunch more, but we had storages that were stolen, and I have half of everything that's on this list. Old paintings. Old paintings. These things are really valuable, and they do really well on eBay and in the auction houses, in the big commercial ones. Um, Harry Potter and the Stone, the book. And a lot of the stuff's worth in the thousands, okay? Barbie doll. Now, I got a bunch of Barbie dolls. I think it was like 3 years ago. And we ran across them in a secondhand store or something with a case and everything, or in the trash or something. And I've got a whole thing with the case and everything. I don't even like Barbie dolls. I've had three or four of them. They used to have a guarantee at Zodi's where you could bring your Barbie doll in and trade it in, and uh, they, you could get a brand new one. I used to rip the heads off them so I could go get a new one. I really didn't like Barbie dolls. I wanted the Mattel racetrack, man, and I've had it twice in my life and lost them again. I had a big giant one that was in the other storages, and I was so excited to finally get one. Air Jordan shoes, new or used. And you can clean them up real good. They sell for really big money. Cracker Jack poster. If you remember the Cracker Jacks, they're not at all like the Cracker Jacks they sell you today. The Cracker Jacks used to have a little prize in there, and you saved all your little papers and stuff, and you could get free cameras and all kinds of stuff. I used to get all that, and also with the bazooka wrappers, bazooka bubblegum wrappers. Those would be worth a lot right now today too. Thank you for the thumbs up, appreciate it. Christmas ornaments, really old or recent. They sell all year round on eBay. The old beach boogie boards, the little short foam board with like fabric covering on them. I used to have a wood one, and it was what they called a skim board, and it was like a big giant disc, and you threw it right at the edge of the surf, and then you ran and jumped on it, and you slid across the sand on it. I used to love that thing. That's back when we lived in Long Beach, California. Um, a a doll that I've never heard of called American Girl. They were in the 80s and the 90s. Those dolls are worth a huge amount of money. A boombox radio. And California had a lot of people down on the beach used to carry a big giant radio with cassettes in it and all that on their shoulder and jack up the sound real loud. Boombox radio. They're worth a lot. Polly Pocket toys. I've heard of it, but I can't think of what it is. Any old microphones. A lot of these bands and stuff, they're using the old timey microphones. They just love them, and whether they're broken or not, they'll fix them and recondition them. Um, Video games for PlayStation and Nintendo. And let me tell you, when I left California, I gave my baby sister like a brand new Atari system with like 400 tapes that I bought at a yard sale. That would be worth so much today. Um, and then old cell phones. I had boxes of those, boxes and boxes of them. Never any other storages, and I used to sell them on eBay before and make out like bacon. Um, Old cordless phones. Yeah, those are real big. They're really old, ugly, big giant ones that look like walkie talkies. Old guitars. Um, Happy Meal toys. You know what? I had 3 cases of those. I bought somewhere. I bought bunches of them. Yeah, this is true stuff. I had bought boxes of them. Like they gave me everything for like $3 or something. And I must have had 200 of them, and I used to uh give them away, kind of thing, and put them as a gift, and stuff I would sell um on the internet. Yeah, and wish I had those now. Let's see. 1970s clock radio with the numbers that flip. Those are worth a lot of money. Furby. If you have any Furbies at all, they go from $25 to $500. If you have a white Furby, $500. Apple iPods, #1 series. Old soda pop crates, wood or metal. I've got a metal one, a really old metal one. It's almost like the old milk crates. I've got one in my storage right now that came from auction. Uh, I like the metal ones because I carry my car cleaning stuff in them and stuff. But guess I'll have to sell it. Polaroid camera. I have one that I bought brand new. Uh, Still in the bag with the books and everything. Polaroid. They had some kind of problem with Polaroid where they stopped making the film. And now everybody really wants them, so I guess they started making the film again. I don't know, but a lot of these young folks today think that's really a magic miracle to have a Polaroid camera. Um, I mean, they took okay pictures. If you needed pictures on the spot, the best thing they were good for was autograph pictures. If you're taking a picture with somebody famous and they autograph it and you buy the picture right there on the spot. They were handy for stuff like that. Otherwise, they were grossly expensive. Old beer cans. I've got old beer bottles that I got in auction storage and old Coke bottles that are full. Um, those do really well. Um, Especially if they still have stuff in them, but most of them are evaporated. Um, Mason jars for canning. When I bought my big house, I must have had 5,000 literally mason jars that had canning stuff still in them, and we couldn't even identify the stuff that was in them. It was I was emptying that stuff out for months and months. I would take like 5 of them and dump them in the backyard, and then I would bleach all the jars. And I had so many of them. And then I was in Huntsville on one trip and stopped at a truck stop, and they were selling those jars for like $15 each. I'm like, man, I got thousands of them. And then my daughter's dad's dad, Pop Hopkins, he did a lot of canning. And he said, I don't like buying them damn canning jars. They're so expensive. And so I said, hey, I got like 5,000 of them in my house. And he said, well, I'd sure like to have those. And so we loaded up the Cadillac with boxes and boxes of them. One of the trips we went out there to visit with him. And he had then moved to Jackson, Tennessee from way upper Arkansas in the cold in the mountains. And we brought all those jars out there, and he couldn't believe it. It was like a gold mine to him. And I mean, no telling. Some of those jars were really, really, really old. And I had saved some of the oldest ones, and they were in the other storages that were stolen. Um, okay, and then let's see. Cereal boxes. Old cereal boxes of any sort, whether it's cream of wheat or Cheerios or any of that stuff. Those old cardboard cereal boxes are worth a ton. Old purses, especially name brand. And I mean, even purses from back in the 70s and earlier, anything. They sell really well. You'd be surprised what old Gucci and Christian Dior and all that stuff sells for today. And from like back in just the 70s alone. Um, but if you have stuff that's older than that, like your grandmother carried on the Titanic or something like that, those are really worth a ton. I run across a lot of those in my travels, and I pick them up, and I usually sell them to the showgirls. But I think I'm gonna have to go through. I've got boxes of them new that I've got to go through, and some vintage that are brand new, and sell those off. Typewriters. Tell you a typewriter story. My ex-husband, the bad car dealer, liked to have an old push typewriter. You know, the one where you push the button and the thing swings up and hits the paper and all that. And then you roll it by hand. It's not electric. He used that to screw with titles, with car titles, I found out. And I was like, why do you have that antique? You know, you got a computer and stuff. Thank you for the thumbs up. And uh, I found out later that he was using it to jack with car titles. And that was the only thing he could use to try to do that. Yeah. Old typewriters. Something called Yeezy Shoe. Yeezy. Yeezy Shoe. Vintage Levi's before the 80s. Man, you know what? I used to have cases and cases of them. I used to sell on eBay. Because places like Russia and stuff like that couldn't get Levi's, and now they have stores out there. But Levi's, I think, just pulled out of Russia about 2 weeks ago. But a lot of American brands pulled out of Russia. But vintage Levi's do really, really well on the internet. New or used. I ran across some the other day. A lady bought a bunch of them with the tags still on them at a secondhand store. She was in line in front of me and got them dirt cheap with the tags and everything all on them. Hadn't even been worn. And those would have been a great seller. Because no telling how old those were. Model trains, like the HOs and all that stuff, they're still very, very, very popular. My dad had a couple sets back in the 80s, and we used to talk trains He used to be in remote control planes before that. He had a big giant biplane when I was a kid, and that was pretty incredible. Um, Jewelry, old jewelry, fake jewelry, solid jewelry, any old jewelry like from the 50s and earlier is really big. Even 70s. A lot of these young kids are into all the 70s stuff. They like 70s clothes and all that. Hell, I liked the 70s cars, man. Um, but they like all that stuff, you know. And then uh let's see, pottery. You really got to watch pottery. If you see something bone ugly in a secondhand store, turn it over and look at it. And if it's a handmade piece, you might want to research the name on your phone. Because there's a guy that just bought a piece for $3 in a secondhand store. It was a $5,000 piece. Yeah. And it was bone ugly. You would be surprised. Art is in the eye of the beholder, and art is never wrong. They say. I learned that in college. Old tennis shoes. They do real well, like old Vans and like I got some right here from storage auction that I had washed, and I'm getting ready to list. And the bottoms are like brand new, and they're a checkerboard, surfer checkerboards, Vanigans. Vanigans off the wall. These are probably 1970s. Yep. And those are getting ready to go up on the internet. And let's see. Old perfume bottles. Like the ones with the ball sprayers and stuff, you know. Old perfume bottles. They're really valuable. And then, cookie jars. Cookie jars. You know, like when people had them, they were like you go over to your grandma's house and she had like, you know, this big teddy bear cookie jar or something like that. Those are worth quite a bit. And here's something that's worth a lot of money. David Bowie, Diamond Dogs record. You got that sucker? You could go buy a house. That album was terminated. And so there's, you know, not a lot of copies around. But if you have one, it's worth a lot of money because it was terminated. Pyrex cooking oven casserole dishes. Okay, you had Pyrex, and then you had the Corningware with the blue flowers on the side. Those are all worth huge money and have been for a while. And I'm talking really seriously huge money. Like we're talking $100 for a casserole dish. Trunks. My mother used to do this when I was a little bitty kid. My mother liked to get old trunks like you use, you know, when you're going on a cruise on an ocean liner, and they're big old wood trunks with leather straps on them and stuff. And my mother used to get those and refurbish them, and then sell them to people. It was like a little hobby of hers. And my dad used to do hatchboard tables, and they were hatches from the old tall ships and stuff. And he would resin the devil out of them and make tables out of them. And that was a thing he did. When my parents had their first sailing school, all of the tables were done like that. He did like six or eight of them for the sailing school. And let's see, Boy Scout badges and patches, and the scarf and the little ring that goes on the scarf, any of that kind of stuff. Boy Scout suits, but the badges and patches are a really big thing. They're very valuable if you have any of that. If you have the Boy Scout book and all that. Um, Old CDs from the 90s, even. Those are worth some money. And of course, old coins. Um, I had some 1700 coins that were in the back of my Camaro in my toolbox I used to carry around all the time. And the guy worked on my car and didn't have any tools and used my tools and stole them. I was mad as hell. Costume jewelry. All the old like 50s, 60s, and 40s. Grandma little earrings with all the beads and the fake pearls on them, and they were different colors, and all that old costume jewelry is worth really a lot. Even the old glasses. Like if I had my grandmother Tessie's glasses today, which were gold, they were solid gold, those would be worth a mint. Um, Tiffany stained glass lamps or Tiffany stained glass overhangs for pool tables. The real ones now, where it's stained glass, it's not plastic. Those are worth really a lot of money. They go in the thousands. Um, Old metal signs or neon signs, for like the ice cream shops or Coca-Cola, any of that kind of stuff. And the bigger they are, the more money they're worth. And there are people that know how to repair neon signs. So if part of it's not working, they know how to repair that. Old stamps, if they're really, really wretched old, they can be worth quite a bit. Or if they're off-center cut stamps, they can be worth quite a bit. A lot of the older stamps were hand cut, and they didn't necessarily cut them straight. Um, so those are easy to find. China sets, the old China with the patterns on them and stuff. It'd be like a red pattern on white with some gold around the edges, or the blue. Any of the old china, you need to flip it over, look at the name of the maker on it, and then look it up on the internet, because it could be worth huge amounts of money. If I had my grandfather's china sets, he had like 3 of them, because they had a really big family, like 17 kids. So they had like 3 different sets that were absolutely gorgeous with gold trim on it and everything. And those would be worth absolute nightmare mint. Um, and then because those are like from the 1800s. Uh, let's see. Old stamps, china sets, any of the old china sets. Cuckoo clocks. Now there's one, and I've run across several of them that didn't work. And I've actually worked on people's cuckoo clocks to fix them. Um, and I, never thought about selling a broken one, but there's clock builders, and some of those clocks, if they're the ones from Germany, they're really worth a lot of money. Because there's some real famous ones from Germany that really, are valuable. Because there's an old German guy that used to build all those for years in his little shop, and they've been all over the world. And they're really ugly. If you've ever looked at it inside a cuckoo clock, that bird that comes out there and goes doot doot is so ugly. That's the worst part of the whole clock, is a flipping bird. VHS movies, and let me tell you how many cases of those I had in the other storages. I bought an entire movie store out to sell them on eBay years ago. And a lot of them got stolen too, but all those are gone pretty much. I only have a little bit of those, but I have more from the recent auction storages I've been doing. But not as much as I had originally. I mean, I had, some really good ones, and they were like brand new and stuff. Um, but I bought an entire store out that was, took me 3 trips in a Lincoln. I took my husband's car up there and filled it and filled it and filled it. And I bought them like the crack sale, and I was selling them on eBay. No problem at all. But they're really valuable today, even. And let's see, rocking chair. I've had three. I had a beautiful white wicker one and two bentwood rockers that I had bought from friends that were moving. That were mint that I had for years with a cane in them and stuff. Those are worth a lot. Game Boy, and I think I've got two or three of those from auction storages. Working or not, they're worth money. Signed yearbooks. Don't ever throw away somebody's old yearbook. One, they're really expensive, and somebody might want one because they lost theirs in a fire or something. And two, you would be surprised who's in those yearbooks. My yearbooks have a lot of famous people in them. And that's why people want them. It's for the famous people that are in them. So they're very valuable. Uh, Old comic books, of course. And I mean, there's some that go the price of a house. Weather vanes or rods, those have always been popular for many, many years, since the 80s. Um, and very typical in the South. Weather vanes or lightning rods. They're mounted on top of a house so you can see the wind direction and all that stuff. And then the rods are for lightning. It's supposed to um, accept the lightning and not let it burn your house down. But basically, they do. You have to have them hooked up the right way or something, like into a ground in the ground or something. But otherwise, they attract lightning. Okay. Old metal lunch boxes. Man, you remember those old crappy metal lunch boxes that we hated, that you wanted to throw down the aisle of the bus? Those are worth a mint. Yeah. Let's see. The old band shirts from any of the old bands. You know that you go when you go to a concert and you buy the shirt for like $30. Those shirts are worth a mint, and the more wore out they are, like paper, the more people want to buy them. They call them super soft. Is what they call them, and they're like almost see through. They're just, there's nothing left to them, but people like them. Star Wars toys. Star Wars toys are worth a mint. I used to have all the Star Wars movies. They were in those other storages that were stolen. Pokemon cards, like all of them, are worth money. And if you can, afford to get them graded and send them off and wait to have them graded, or a shop you can go to that will do them promptly, and then put them in little cases and stuff and seal them. If you have them graded, you make a whole lot more money, just like with baseball cards. But a lot of these places so far behind, it might take months to get your stuff graded. But even if it's not graded, you could sell it otherwise. You just get a whole lot more money if it's graded, like in the hundreds. Vintage clothing. That's always been big back home in California. There was a place called Aardvark down at Venice at the Circle there. And I don't know if it's still there, but I used to love to go there and buy like the white Navy bell bottoms, the real ones from the Navy, and stuff like that. And uh, they got kind of pricey, through the years. I think the last time I went in that store, it was like $15 for a pair of used Navy guys white bell bottoms, and they're the neatest pants. And uh, they had all kinds of jeans and stuff like that, and that's a big, big, big thing. Um, is vintage clothing of any type. Right now, all these young people are wearing like 1950s dresses and stuff, and 1940s shoes, and I mean really ugly stuff. but they think it's really cool. Um, I don't know. I didn't want to dress like a librarian any part of my life. So anyway, um, let's see. Vintage clothes. Julia Child cookbooks. And I might have two of those from auction storage. I might have two. I can't remember. I've got a few cookbooks from one of the auction storages. And old clocks from the 30s on up. Any kind of old clocks. The old electric clocks or whatever, wind-up clocks. I'll tell you clocks that are really worth some money is those little wind-up alarm clocks that you take when you travel and go to a hotel. You had this little box. You open it up and it popped up and the clock popped up and then you'd wind it and use it for your alarm. Those are worth huge money. Walkmans. If you know what a Walkman is, like from the 80s, they were really cool. Like they were radios and cassette decks that you could stick on the side of your pants and the wire goes up to your head and you wear the little headphones and you can like roller skate with them or ride your bicycle with them. Those are really big right now, whether they're new or used. And I see them all the time. In fact, I've got one or two here in the packages that I got in storage auction. Yep, Walkmans. I was thinking I had it over here. I put it over somewhere, but I've got one or two of them around. And I was just debating on whether to keep it because I really like them or to sell it. Um, let's see. Silver flatware. Silver flatware is a big thing. My mother had a beautiful set of silver flatware and all the silver stuff, the platters, the tea thing, all that stuff. She had all that. And I like gold, but yeah, she had all that stuff. That stuff's worth a living mint. Um, and a lot of it, even if it's really bad worn and tore up, a lot of it they'll melt down and make jewelry out of it. World War II bar stuff, like bar shakers, stir sticks, decanters, stuff like that. That stuff's worth quite a bit. Old tools. Tools you don't even know what it does, but you know it's some kind of tool. Rusty, clean, whatever, they're really worth money. China. There's a China. I remember people talking about this when I was a kid. Bone china. That stuff's worth really a lot. Oriental rugs. I have one still that a friend of mine that passed away wanted to buy from me for over $1,000. And he said, that rug is worth so much money. I said, no, it's not. And it's just a little one. And he's like, yeah, he's like, it's like $1,000, $2,000. And I'm like, well, if you got it, lay it on the table. It's all yours. Because I don't even like Oriental rugs. They're too much work. They attract so much dirt and hair. If you have animals, it attracts their hair really bad. And you have to take them out of the house. You have to roll it up and have somebody help you carry them out of the house because they're so heavy. And then you've got a pile of dust where that rug was at. So now you got to clean all that up with a vacuum and, clean the floor up, whatever. And they're good for wood floors because wood floors are horrible floors. I hate them. They're slippery and they're cold. And so you have to go put a rug on top of it. And it's just defeating the purpose. You should just put carpet in the house, as far as I'm concerned. I don't have use at all. I think rugs are stupid. Just put carpet in the sucker. But anyway, yeah, take it outside, lay it out in the driveway, and it can only be washed in cold water or all the colors run. And then it shrinks too if you don't just use cold water. And you have to, keep rinsing it out and rinsing it out and rinsing it out. And then you have to hang it over the fence for like a week to get it dry, and then you can roll it back up and have somebody help you carry it back in the house and lay it down. I hate them. I absolutely hate them. I don't care what they have on them. I hate them. I just don't like them. They're just too much trouble. Um, and I don't like wood floors either. They're too much work. They're too much work to wax all the time and too much work to refinish. And they're too much work because they make noise. Um, I just don't like them. I don't even think they're pretty. Um, it belongs on walls. uh, baseball cards from the early 1900s. They're really worth a lot. Fishing equipment, new or really, really old. Like those old fishing baskets that, the guys used to put their fish in and stuff, carry on the side. Anything. Fishing equipment is really popular, new or old. Old stock certificates. Don't ever throw papers away. And if you see any on the side of the street, go through them. You would be surprised about old stock certificates that used to be owned by Coca-Cola and this, that, and the other. And the people just threw it in the trash. Some old person died and they just threw that stuff away. That stuff, people pay for that. People pay for that stuff big time. And it's just a piece of paper. Pocket watches, 1920 and up. Working or not. These are worth a lot of money. And people are using them today. They like them. I know truck drivers that love pocket watch. As a matter of fact, I have a good friend of mine, Charlie. I gave him a beautiful pocket watch years ago. Old computers. Old computers. I mean, like archaic dinosaur freaking computers and screens, working or not. Those are worth a ton of money. People really want that old wretched crap. And I had a bunch of old laptops and computers in the other storages that were stolen. Bunches of them. And that's why I had them, was to sell them. Old photos. You would be surprised if you run across old photos, at a yard sale or secondhand store or whatever. They could be very, very, very valuable. Somebody got one that was like Jesse James in a grocery store or something. But old photos are really popular. Plus, people use them for decorating restaurants and stuff like that. But you'd be surprised the famous people that are in those pictures. Really old furniture. And I just had an auction storage that had a really old, I forget what you call it. It's like an old chaise lounge that lays on the side kind of thing that people used to do portraiture with, like on the Titanic. I just had an auction storage that had one of those in it. And nobody would buy it. I listed it on Let Go or one of those that's local here, and nobody bought it in time, so I had to junk it, unfortunately. And that would have been worth a ton. I had a friend of mine that had one in his nightclub, and they just thought that was the thing, and I'm like, oh God, it's so hideous. Really old appliances. I missed my kitchen stove that was in my big house. Oh my gosh, and I had the certificate on the wall in a frame from when that day they delivered it over there. And I had a really, really old, I think it was like a O'Keefe and Merritt, and it was pink metal and white porcelain gas stove. It was pretty outrageous. Miss that stove, I really do. It was great for making bread and stuff. Those are worth a mint. Yep. Duck hunting decoys. Like the the blower things that make the noise, and then that little ducks that are wood and stuff that people would put out and let them float around or whatever and see if the ducks would come. Those are worth really a lot of money. movie theater memorabilia or concert ticket type stuff. Um, any of that movie theater stuff, whether it be the movie theater posters or tickets, of any sort. Man, I wish I had my Star Wars tickets from when that first came out. Um, that or Grease, you know. It's a shame I don't have those. Um, or the Herbie movie. What was that movie? When we went to the Grauman's Chinese. That was really, I wished I had those tickets still. Um, old auto parts, like really old. Now I have some because I bought two auction storages that was a guy that built cars. And I've got a great old steering wheel of I don't know what. I've got some body parts, chrome body parts off of I don't know what. I got some really cool pieces that I was going to keep, but I'm going to research them. And if they're worth quite a bit of money, I'm going to sell them because that will put a roof over my head. Old magazines of any sort. Now I've got some stuff over here from auction storage that I'm getting ready to list. And this is this is Lady Di, Princess Diana. And this is 1995, 1997. Here's the famous National Enquirer. My dad taught this guy how to sail. And this is September of 1997, Diana. My dad taught this guy how to sail, and he said, so why do you, write stuff like that? Because, we always knew all that stuff was bogus caca. And the guy said, because it sells. Yeah. This guy was made of money. I don't even know if he's still alive, that guy that had that magazine. Here's the Star. Here's Goodbye England Rose. Lady Diana, 1997. Yeah, I got all these that were in a storage auction, and they're like brand new. And these were in the one that had like 3,000 Playboy magazines in it. Yep. And I'm getting ready to list those. And I mean, they're just like brand new. They're just, they have a little bit of fading on them because they're not pure paper, but yeah, they're amazing, in amazing shape. Okay. So old magazines, like especially if you could find one of the old Life or any of that, God, I used to be around a whole bunch of stuff like that. I had a bunch before I left California, and those would be worth a ton now. Let's see. Stife teddy bears. Now, I had two that said Stife on them. I don't know if I still have them or they went in those other storages that were stolen. And they're all very pretty bears. They're kind of ugly. But they're called Stife teddy bears. They're Steiff. And they're kind of scruffy looking. Those are worth a lot of money. Old Apple computers. As old as you can get it. Worth a ton, working or not. There are people that are just nuts over that stuff. Metal piggy banks, mechanical, 50s and up. And I love that stuff. At my grandpa's house, there was a bunch of stuff in the attic and the garage outside. And I used to climb up in there and find all this stuff up in the wood rails. And that neatest metal piggy banks and stuff were up there. And I had one for many, many, many years. It was my mother's. And it was a white Persian cat. And it was two pieces of metal that had a screw went through the middle of it. It was really neat. And then I grew up around people that had all these really neat metal piggy banks that when you put a coin in it, like the biggest one was the Uncle Sam one. You put a coin in his hand and then he flipped it around, shoved it in his mouth or something, and then it went inside him. But the old mechanical piggy banks, new, used, any kind of shape, people are nuts over them. Before, several years ago, they had to be like perfect shape, but not anymore. People like them as is. They like the wear on them and all that kind of stuff. It's just like rusted out cars. I think that's real stylish today, and to me, it means the car has cancer, is very sick, and its life is very limited. And it's not going to be very original when it's filled with Bondo because they had to cut all that out of there. But people are really into all that kind of stuff. They'll even clear coat over rust on a car. I think that looks really great. No. Horse paintings. Horse paintings are a real big thing. Any kind of horse paintings, if you see any. And plus, there's many of them that are famous horses. And that's ultimately valuable. And I remember this stuff. I remember people that had this stuff, but I didn't think anything about it. But tiny pottery called Ozark. It's stupid looking stuff. That's worth a ton of money. So if you have any Ozark tiny pottery, it's worth a lot of money. Milton Bradley games. I had stacks of them. And most of them that I collected through the years in my travels and went, oh, there's an old mousetrap game or something. And they're really neat when you can get them and all the pieces are there. I had a Mr. Potato Head that I had got used somewhere with all the bits, the original box, everything. And then it just like self-destructed. The plastic was so old, it just kind of shattered. And it was just in kind of bits, and I was so sad because I thought Mr. Potato Head was so cool. But any of the old Milton Bradley games, like Operation, any of those kind of things, they're really big. I'm surprised Mattel's not a big winner because I went to the Mattel factory when I was a kid and did a tour. And Mattel was the big thing. They were the ones that did Hot Wheels and all that stuff. And you took the tour and then you got a free toy after the tour. And they took you in this room where you got to play with all the toys. It was really neat. Colored mason jars. The canning jars. If they're colored ones, like the blue, the pink, and all that, those are worth quite a bit. People really like those. I used to look at them for what the labels were across the front. If they looked real old-timey, then I knew those were worth quite a bit. But now it's like they like the colored ones. Beatles Records. Man, if you got one of those, they're worth really a lot. Those are 1960s. I think it's 1960s. I'm trying to think if they were 50s, but I'm thinking 60s. Because it was Beatles, Liberace, Elvis. Could be 50s too. But I'm pretty sure just 60s. Okay, concert posters. Those are really big deals. If you've got any concert posters, theater posters are big too. And then 1960s toys. And you know what I had? It was in the other storages. I had that the thing that makes the spiders. You put the goo in the machine, and you plug it in the wall, and it cooks it, and it makes like spiders and stuff. You pull them out of it. I had one of those. that I got in my travels, and it was like brand new, and it still had the goo and everything. And I just love those things. And I don't think I have that anymore because I think it went in the storages that were stolen. And then let's see, Harry Potter and the Stone Book, Barbie dolls, Air Jordan shoes, the Cracker Jack poster. Okay, let's see. We got all that. Postcards. Any old postcards. Man, I had a bunch of postcards from the casino. I had 200 of them. Brand new. And I used to sell those on eBay. Because the casino changed names. It went from Lady Luck to Isle of Capri. And then Gold Nugget bought out Isle of Capri. But yeah, so there are some things. If you have those in your house, you better get on the internet and research them because you might be surprised, and they may not be that important to you. And you might just as well prefer to sell them, or they're just collecting dust somewhere in the attic or basement or in the corner, or somebody that just passed away and people are cleaning the house out or throwing stuff out in the street. You better keep your eyes open because this stuff is worth a lot of money. Now, in California, the secondhand stores are so high. I was just talking with somebody on the internet. It's just ridiculous how high the secondhand stores are. And so it's really hard for people on eBay that are trying to do secondhand stuff out of California because it's priceless. And it's always been like that. But, in the South, we run across all kinds of stuff. Stuff that from people that we know. They're like, take this stuff to the secondhand store and dump it off. People that, throw stuff out of houses in the street. Um, uh, stuff you run across in different little secondhand stores. There's a brand new secondhand store that just opened down the street from my office. Somebody told me yesterday, and they said everything's like a quarter or something. I'm like, really? And they said it had just opened. So I'll have to have a look at that. Unless they're talking about that one I went to that was $1 million one day, and then it took her about a week to figure out that she's out of Virginia and West Virginia, and she priced herself right out of the market because I went in there and there was a shirt in there, a used shirt that she wanted $10 for, and it was a really old name brand shirt. And she got all that stuff was donated. She didn't buy nothing. People just donated, and she's just sticking it in the store. And the store is really set up nice. She just opened, and her prices are insane. And I did a couple videos about it, but I went back again a couple times, and then she has lowered the prices way, 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 way down where they make more sense for this area. Because there's so many secondhand stores in this area that are with churches and other stuff, and the prices are, way lower than her. And so, yeah, so she's getting a little better at it. But that's that place where I bought that $3 1930s cheese shredder that's worth like $50. Yeah. So keep your eyes open because even it doesn't have to be absolutely brand new and sparkling and stuff. People are buying this stuff with the wear on it. So you might want to look it up and research it. It might be well worth it to you as long as you take good pictures with your phone or whatever, and don't doctor them up a bunch, and be real honest with your ads. You won't have any problems. Just be super honest. I've listed stuff that was so pitiful that I've got copies of somewhere of some stuff that I've listed when I sold a lot on the internet years ago. And I mean, it was like you wanted to cry after you read the ad because it was so pitiful and people would buy it. But I did that so it didn't come back. I didn't want to lie to anybody. I didn't want to cover anything up. I didn't want to just ship it to them, and make them think it was better than it was when it wasn't. So I was ultra honest, and I mean it was painful, painful, sad. A couple of ads that I had done, just painful, sad, and people would buy it, and then you don't have any trouble with the people; they're just happy as hell. Just be honest, and you will have less trouble. Um, uh, but there you have it. So eBay is real hot right now. Amazon is too. Amazon doesn't like a lot of used stuff. It's a big trick to be able to sell used stuff on there. I used to do it, and they they would tell me, we just are not into used, but I would do it because it was, collectible stuff, and they couldn't help it. Let me do it because I sold a ton on Amazon, eBay every month. Um, it's a little bit harder now. You have to really do your research. But you'd be surprised. A lot of the stuff that's just worth a lot. Crafts and stuff is a big thing. If that old lady next door that died that had a bunch of sewing stuff or bead stuff or any of that, and they want to just throw it in the trash or sell it in big giant bags for $1, buy it because it'll sell on eBay super fast. You know, um, even on Etsy. Etsy does a lot of craft stuff, but eBay right now is like 250 free ads every month, and you don't have to pay PayPal fees and the transfer fees and all that other crap. They just deposit to your bank account, and you don't get charged for all that bull crap. And so that's really a neat thing. But that they charge, it's like 12 or 13% basically. And there's some areas where it's a little cheaper, but you don't want to list there unless it belongs there, like, for health equipment and stuff like that, exercise equipment, all that is they give you a little lower rate on that and a couple other things. But basically it's about 13%. So it's not bad compared to what it was, years ago when they charge you, the eBay fee and then the other eBay fee and the eBay fee on your shipping and then the PayPal fee and the PayPal transfer fee. And, when you got done, it was just like a huge amount of money plus your ads fees and they had to be constantly renewed. And it was the cost of a storefront. It would cost me four to 600 a month just on eBay fees to operate, and that's not counting my sales fees. That's just to have ads. But I was running like 2,000 ads. I just list everything I could get my hands on, stuff I found in the trash, stuff I found at secondhand stores, stuff that people gave me, stuff that I had, stuff I had a lot of stuff of because I'm one of those that always has at least three of everything. I had like 5 vacuums because my big house, I had a vacuum on every level and in the back house. And I always had a lot of vacuums and things. And I had curling irons in every bathroom. And I had like 5 bathrooms. And, I always have like at least three of everything. So now I'm down to 2 vacuums. I got one brand new um, micro water wet dry vac, brand new in an auction storage. It's really handy. I use that in my office and sometimes on my car. And then I've got one really, really expensive stand-up vacuum that my neighbor gave me. And they had a dog and it was all clogged up and googed up. And I cleaned the whole thing up and I got it running really good. And I saw it at Walmart and it was like a $375 vacuum. I'm like, whoa. And so that was really a blessing. So I kept that one. I sold my other one though. I was going to give it to my daughter. She didn't. She said she wanted it, then she didn't. And so I sold it to the gym. So they use it down at my other gym because they needed one real bad. And I just was trying to reduce because storages cost money, and the more stuff you can get rid of that you can replace later, the better off you're going to be instead of paying to house it. So Right now, I house like about 70% of what I own is for my retail stuff, and the rest is all that's left, kind of thing. I've got 67 boxes of my daughter's stuff. She was supposed to pay me storage on and stuff. She told me to save it for her and all this crap, and I never got any storage money out of her. And um, I probably end up selling all that after I get all this stuff listed and just do that because I can't keep paying. Because I would, if I didn't have all those boxes right now, I would save so much money on storage. I really would. But anyway, so I hope that helps you. Do research it. If you know of anybody that has this stuff or wants to get rid of stuff, or you see these things in stores or yard sales, you need to pick them up. And um, they're really worth quite a bit. And you can research it on your phone as you're standing there. But I hope you have a toe on it or a finger on it or whatever, so somebody doesn't run up and grab it while you're doing that, because it'll be gonzo. But a lot of these older folks that have passed away and the families come up and are yard selling all the stuff off, trying to get it out of the house or throwing it in the trash. These things are worth really a lot of money. I'll tell you one thing that's really worth a lot of money is all that old, ugly 60s and 50s furniture. That rectangular looking couches with the short little legs and stuff like that. Everybody's into all that stuff now. All these young people, they want all that ugly looking furniture. Matter of fact, what did I have that was old and ugly like that? A dresser. I had a dresser in an auction storage. It was no telling how many years old it was. And it'd take 4 people to pick it up. Big, giant, long dresser. Like, you would have in a master bedroom. Huge. I mean, take up a whole wall. Mother of God, this thing had drawers and doors and all this stuff. And the wood was like almost 2 inches thick. And it was just, it looked like it was 50s or 60s probably. And I sold it. And the lady was so excited. She says, for my daughter, she just got an apartment, and she's 19 and she's so excited. She wanted this so bad. And I'm like, God, I'm so glad. Load it up just as fast as you can. Um, I sold it pretty cheap. I had it listed for 100 to begin with. But the whole idea when you're doing auction storage is to run that stuff out, or you're going to pay for that storage. And I don't want to be paying rent on any storage. So the whole idea is to buy the stuff to make some money and get it gone. So you run that price down every day till it goes. You get your money for it right there. Boom, boom. Other than that, you start loading stuff every day and taking it to secondhand store, and you get a receipt and you write all that stuff down, and it's a tax write-off. So you don't lose. Either way, you don't lose. Actually, you make more money doing the tax write-off thing than you do selling it. You know, but I mean, I've got so many tax write-off papers you can't believe. I must have a stack of 200, really and truly. And that's from taking loads down to these secondhand stores. And a lot of times I go to 3 secondhand stores in one day, because this one didn't want to take clothes that day, but they would take furniture. This one didn't want to take furniture, but they would take clothes. And this one over here didn't want anything but kids' toys. And this one didn't want Christmas stuff. And God, Christmas stuff sells all year round on eBay. All year round on eBay. You can look it up right now. And you won't believe how many have sold this month of Christmas things. Just in the United States. I only look in the United States, and I don't look in worldwide because I don't sell worldwide. I quit that years ago. That's just too much burn for me. I don't do worldwide. I don't do Hawaii, and I don't do Canada. Sorry, you guys. But I'm done. Hawaii takes too long. It takes like 60 days to get shipped over there. And Canada is just as bad. It sits in customs like for life. And it's like anything you ship out there is doing jail time, because it's just going to sit there for life. And stuff that goes to Europe doesn't have any tracking number. and it sits in customs, and the people that ordered it, for some reason, they live there, but they can't figure out that if they order stuff from the United States, they got to pay taxes on it. So they have to literally go down to customs office and go pick up their package and pay the taxes or whatever the value is of that item. And I'm not shipping nothing that says you're my brother and I'm doing it free as a gift. I'm not doing that. It's a federal offense. So that's problematic too. So I don't do any of those. I only do United States, continental United States only. No islands, nothing but continental United States, period. So that's how I do it. But I mean, what you do is up to you. And I appreciate everybody's thumbs up. You guys rock. But that's how I do it. But anyway, I've got another vlog I've got to do on eBay for some eBay tips today. And so I'm going to take a little break here. And let's see, how late is it now? I don't know if I'll do that vlog tonight or not. I might. But I appreciate you guys coming around. And really appreciate you, Roxanne. I hope that helped you. And did you check out the price on your blue teddy bear? On your Lady Diana teddy bear? It's amazing what those are worth. But I'm looking, there's one secondhand store that's got a giant bin of stuffed dolls. And I think they have 2 bins now. And I went by there the other day and I said, man, if I had time to look through that bin and see what was in there, it'd be hard to believe. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great one. And check your treasures, or your friends' treasures, or your grandma's treasures, or your neighbor's treasures, or the local secondhand store. You never know. And you'd be surprised what you see in the trash. You're driving by. So don't hesitate. It could be worth a ton. Anyway, I love you guys. Talk to you later and do something kind for a stranger, and I'll see you in the next one.